Come on, strike me down, Zeus. You don't have the ball.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday! It's Mecha Madness, the ultimate grudge match between a robot Sonic and a robot Knuckles. Be there or be dead! It's Deep Dive Zone, everybody, a Sonic reread series for fans of all shapes and sizes, and today, we've got a whole bunch of cool comics for you guys.
Hype is real.
Yeah.
That hurt my throat to do.
Well, it was worth it, because it was appropriate.
Yeah, we are not quite at the Mecha Madness special yet. We got a couple of comics before then, but it's gonna be a good time today.
Yeah.
We are starting off here with Sonic the Hedgehog number 37, and wow, they really did that cover where Sally is a human woman with a furry head. It is right in your face.
Is this the first time it's really been in our face?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe a little bit on some of the other ones, but not as much as this one, certainly.
It's a shame, because the rest of the cover is very, very well done.
Yeah, it's dynamic. I mean, it's a Spaziant classic.
Yeah. I guess, despite her being, right in your face, Sally's not that bad. I've seen stuff from later in the comics that is a little questionable.
Oh, don't worry. No matter how bad it gets, it can always get worse.
Jeez, alright.
We're not going to dwell on it. We're starting off here with The Day Robotropolis Fell, which sounds a lot more important than it is. Written by Di Cesare and drawn by Brian Thomas. An earthquake shakes Robotropolis, and Sonic, Sally, and Chuck de-roboticize some citizens and evacuate them while Robotnik and Snively take shelter from the quake.
This is really a turning point for me in the comics. At this point, de-robotization starts to become really cheap, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, which is strange given how long it eventually takes to rid the series of roboticization. It's that they de-roboticize people, but they're not like anybody we actually know. They're just a bunch of randos.
There's a bunch of background characters.
Yeah, they come up with convoluted reasons why the important ones are stuck. I do think Chuck's is pretty valid, because he's just cool and he wants to get by.
Chuck's makes sense.
As for the rest of this story, it's okay. They have a lot of stuff to get through. They have to, they save these roboticized people because it's an earthquake. It's really dangerous, and Sonic ends up having to, Sally kind of gets damseled a little bit. It's more like she gets knocked unconscious, really, but... It
really looks like she just dies.
I mean, Brian Thomas's drawings kind of already look dead. He still doesn't know how to draw her.
Yeah. Sally's a little, gangly armed.
I know,
that looking.
That one drawing of her where she says, "Does Robotnik go about the quake? What is wrong with her arms? She could touch the floor if she put them at her sides."
One bit I do like about this story is it solidifies what you could already infer, that Robotnik doesn't really care at all about the roboticized Mobians. He treats them just like any other robot, which is interesting.
They're basically just slaves.
Well, yeah, but I always thought surely there's hostage potential there or something.
Oh,
but he doesn't. He just is like, nah, they're just slaves like the rest of them. And so as he's abandoning the city, Snively asks, what's going to happen with the robots? And he's like, who cares? They're just machines. And it's a bit of irony, as, of course, they're the friends of the freedom fighters.
It'll also become, dramatic irony for this guy himself later. So yeah, it's an alright story. There's nothing too objectionable about it. I wouldn't say that there's anything too amazing about it, but it's fine.
I think the best part of it is there's a frame where I know it's supposed to be Sally climbing through the wall, but it just looks like she got stuck in the wall, and that made me laugh for some reason.
Finally, we're getting the glitches canonized. I made a joke like that last episode. I'm fucking cheap. I'm sorry.
Also, Sally's unusually long arms. Those are odd.
Yeah, Brian Thomas. Take some lessons from Art Mawhinney or something.
It really only seems like Sally though, because Sonic's arms don't seem that bad.
No, I've seen a couple weird shots of Chuck in previous issues, but yeah, no, Sonic looks okay.
Maybe it's the gloves. They prevent his arms from growing so long.
Oh, that's what they're for.
Glad we're establishing these definitely canon facts.
Of course. Hey, the only way you can remove my headcanon is with either a melon baller or a power drill.
Hey, another reused joke.
Oh, damn, have I already used that one?
Yeah. It's
Damn
alright.
it. I've been using that joke for like a decade. It's fine.
Hey, Sonic Frontiers is recently released. We could all do with a little bit of asset reuse. Anyway, so the second story for this issue is Bunny's Worst Nightmare, written and drawn by Rich Kozlowski, who I think is like an inker normally, and like I don't think he did much other than this story. But the plot is, out of the blue, Bunny's robotic parts start growing and consuming the rest of her body, and she scrambles for ways to keep her friends safe from the threat of complete roboticization. And I didn't mention in there that this is, in fact, a dream, but it's not real.
Yeah, so at first, I'm like, heck yeah, more solo stories, give someone a chance to shine. But yeah, it's just a dream. Which, I mean, if you put that aside from the fact that why didn't it just activate way earlier, I do kind of like the idea of Robotnik planting a trap that, like, completes robotization. I think that's diabolical and very on brand.
Yeah.
No, I say it's fake, but I actually think that this story is rad. I actually think it's a good one, and it doesn't matter that it's a dream, because what it is, I think, is really important character building for Bunny.
That is what I was also going to bring that point up. Yes, because, well, I'll bring up my follow up for that a little later. It becomes relevant in the Mecha Madness set. But yeah, the fact that her being a robot bothers her deeply.
Well, it's not just that it's like uncomfortable, but it's like, you become terrified of your own body. That's some real sci-fi horror shit. Especially with, like, the nodes and wires sort of spreading across her like a cancer. It's like, oh, that's a little bit messed up.
The imagery is is a little tense.
I think it is funny, ironically, I would say this is the most that any story has done with Bunny's character or character arc so far, and it's coming from a staff member we've never seen on art or writing. And the art it's okay, it's fine. It's nothing...
Yeah.
Nothing particularly off-putting.
It's pretty standard fare for a lot of the comics.
Certainly, if we're looking at inkers turned pencilists, this guy does better than Harvey Mercadocasio with his weird, like, stretched-out style. But speaking of weird art styles, that is the theme of Sonic the Hedgehog number 38 here, featuring the return of Combots on the cover.
Oh boy, I very much missed Combots.
Let's just get somehow lamer SWAT bots.
Yeah, they're just not cool. They're not funny. They seem like something made to sell an action figure that doesn't exist.
Yeah, which does surprise me because we know this comic series was fairly popular. I'm surprised there was no action figures or anything.
Yeah. And the story for this one, last issue we had The Day Robotropolis Fell, but this issue we have The Rise of Robotropolis, The Fall of Sonic, which is written by Kent Taylor, which I hope you can hear the air quotes I'm doing, because Kent Taylor is actually a pseudonym for former editor Scott Fulop. We just moved to Justin Gabri. Like, they still say Freddie Mendez Gabri. He's not even using his real name as the editor here yet. But the previous one is now a writer. And it is drawn by Manny Gallen, who will become known as a decent artist on the series, but sure not because of this issue, because it is kind of fugly.
Yeah, even I can tell Sonic's face on the first inner page is a bit off.
Yeah.
I do like, though, we were talking about Sad AM, how Sonic is humming or singing the Sad AM theme.
Yes, that's funny. I like that.
Yeah. And the plot of this one is that when Sonic is mysteriously deprived of his sonic speed, he has to work with the backup Freedom Fighters and the Spy Network to save the captured Freedom Team.
So what you're saying is this is an adaptation of Sonic Labyrinth.
Thank you, Bruce.
Alright, I guess if you guys are just gonna keep fucking putting me through the ringer for that from the Sonic and Knuckles special, you might as well. But we already did that with the Son Olympics, or whatever that was called. The Olympics one. Because that had the slowdown boots.
No, that was an adaptation of the Sonic at the Olympic Games mobile game.
Yeah, that's more logical. We may have been mistaken.
Yeah. This is Sonic Labyrinth. I'd know Sonic Labyrinth if it hit me in the face. And this hit me in the face, I guess.
Looks like I hit Sonic in the face.
Yeah, looks like someone smacked him in the face with a frying pan.
Yeah, there's a lot of strange expressions.
I didn't mention it because no one expects it, but the previous issue becomes slightly more relevant in retrospect because they decide to actually follow up directly from Robotropolis being decimated by an earthquake, which, I mean,
yes.
I always like continuity, so that's kind of neat.
It does feel like the comics are starting to more and more care about their own continuity.
Anyway, yeah, the plot of the story is relatively simple. Sonic gets his speed taken away, and he needs to, I guess, get a bunch of rings to get it back?
That's how that works, apparently. Yeah, I mean, it would make sense to me that getting a power ring would return his speed temporarily. I don't know.
Sure.
The power rings just do whatever they need to. I complained about it in Sat AM, but the same applies here.
Yeah.
It will get worse later.
Working with the spy network and the... I can't call them the substitute freedom fighters because they don't have that name yet, and also that's a stupid thing to exist. But the freedom fighter B team, I like the spy network it's headed by a giant anthropomorphic fly who just is terrifying to look at.
So it is very funny to go from Archimedes to him. Like, what makes you decide like the size of anthropomorphized characters? Nothing, apparently. It doesn't matter if they're flying or an ant. It could be whatever they want.
I guess different strokes for different pens.
Why are the plans copyrighted in 1996? Is that the year the issue came out?
Probably. This feels kind of 1996-y. But that doesn't make any sense for Robotnik because we're years in the future.
Maybe Robotnik is just a fan of the 90s.
Oh, he's a 90s kid.
Oh, God. Oh, wait, we probably don't complain about 90s kids, being I'm one.
Well, we were all born in the 90s. I don't know if that makes us 90s kids when it's 1999. That's...
Okay, but, like, I don't think any of us associate here with the rest of the Zoomer generation.
I mean, you use a lot of TikTok, man.
Yeah, but that's because I'm a weird boomer.
That's not gonna dwell on it. Anyway, we have so many characters opposing Robotnik here that just, haven't been given a chance to shine, and I'm gonna be honest, this doesn't really make a good argument for them being able to. I'm looking at what they do, and it's like, at one point, Dylan, the porcupine guy, catches Sonic's hand, and he says, "Gotcha, after all, since porcupines and hedgehogs are related, I wouldn't want to lose a family member." And Sonic is just like a complete dick and says, "You're no cousin of mine, Porky." Yeah,
Sonic's just racist.
So, yes, I was going to bring up that fact. Sonic, when he loses their speed, is like a total jerk. He, at one point, also snaps on Rotor, and he never apologizes. So, like that's the kind of thing that I'd expect. Some point at the end, he's like, "I'm sorry, guys. You showed me that I don't need my speed to work well in a team." But no, he just never.
Yeah, because Sonic lost the one thing that made him unique, and now he's angry. And he's going to take it out on the entire world.
I don't get to be special anymore. I'm going to punch you.
In a very good light.
Also, I'd like to point out, hedgehogs and porcupines are not related whatsoever.
No, they're just both spiny.
Right. Which obviously means they're related.
But yeah, they fight a bunch of combots. Sonic gets the third ring to restore his speed, however that works. And they free their friends. Robotnik gets away, and... we get a tease that Knack is coming back through a very weird-looking drawing of him in the last panel.
Yeah, that is the most random thing. I've never seen them just, like, in a little circle on the side of the last page, just be like, "Hey, tune in next time for me, hi."
Yeah, it's like, if Knack were in the issue, like, in the background, like, doing something, but no, he's just like, "Hello."
Very random.
It is random, and only slightly less random than the second story of this issue, Bedtime Tales, which is written by Kantrovich and Penders and drawn by Penders. And it is Sonic sick in bed and Tails reading him stories from self-made comic books. It's a bunch of old school Marvel and DC references.
Another of these stories.
Yeah, it's what you see is what you get. You know, it's like anybody watching can see what's on the screen right now. I don't even know if we need to say anything else.
I do kind of like that the story takes an opportunity to make fun of itself, as there's a bit of like made up continuity when there's an editor's note that's like, oh, see Freedom Fighters #2, a squirrel walks among us. So like, I always like when they poke fun at themselves.
Mm.
I'm going to clip you saying Among Us there and just post it on its own.
Among Us, Among Us, Among Us.
So anyway, the end of this is basically like Sonic is so tired of Tails' crappy comics that like once he gets better and Tails has caught his cold, he makes his own stupid comic that's Bat Sonic. It's why did you do this, man?
You know, we talked about in the last issue, Sally's being a human woman's body with an animal head. Tails in this story kind of just looks like a human child's body with a fox's head.
Yeah, they really don't understand his proportions. They keep drawing him with like a neck. It's the neck that makes it weird.
Yeah, it's the neck.
Which
Also,
Sonic doesn't have.
Pender's writing is bad, but it's kind of bad in a fun way because it's easier to make fun of writing. His art is just like, it's not really fun to make fun of. It's just bad.
Yeah, it's just jank is what it is.
Yeah.
Alright. Let's move to something that's not jank at all. I was trying to get here as fast as possible. Sonic the Hedgehog #39. Look at that cover. It is so awesome. It speaks for itself. It is awesome. I love the look of Robot Sonic here. This story is Rage Against the Machine, written by Gallagher and drawn, of course, by Spaziant. After a big argument with the Freedom Fighters, Sonic is captured by Robotnik, captured by Knack and brought to Robotnik, and roboticized. Oh. With no other way of protecting Knothole Village, it's up to Bunny and Knuckles to keep the metallic menace from mutilating his mates. You like that alliteration?
Nice.
That was well done.
So, yeah. I will say, this is a bit better than in, I don't remember the name of the story, the other one where Sonic fights everyone because he loses memory. In terms of how he gets captured. I'll accept getting ambushed in Knothole Village, because why should you expect an attack there in the middle of the weight room or whatever? But I will object to the fact that the Freedom Fighters decide to imprison Knack in Knothole in the first place. Seems kind of risky.
Where else would
especially since, well, then now he knows the location of Knothole.
Yeah, realistically, the prison should be well far away from Knothole.
Yeah, there is an off-site prison introduced later, I believe.
Of course.
So, like, they realized their mistake. But I find it weird that he didn't try to, like, sell Robotnik the location. Well, he didn't need it at the time, and I don't think he does later. I don't know, it's just weird.
Knack just has a really bad memory.
I guess.
Does Robotnik know that Knack was in Knothole? Because if he doesn't, then it might be safer on Knack's part to not tell him that he was there at all. You know, Sonic was just running around outside.
Well, either way, the Freedom Fighters would have no way of knowing he wouldn't tell. So, whatever. It's a minor gripe. It's better, like I said, than just running into a SWAT bot randomly.
I mean, it's a lot more entertaining because the way Knack does it is just hilarious.
Yeah, he drops a dumbbell on his head.
And the face Sonic makes.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have to agree. Knack, by and large, I find to be pretty entertaining. He gets more time to shine later this episode, actually, but in this story, he kind of just gets the good old Robotnik treatment of, all right, pay up, and the Robotnik's like, your reward is getting away alive!
He is a bastard. And yeah, no, Sonic does indeed get roboticized, and it's a good bit of juicy drama here, because Sonic's plan at the start of this episode was, oh, you know, we should try the Sally robot thing again and get one of us roboticized but use the control chip. And then they're like, no, Sonic, at their little council meeting, they're like, no, that's stupid. It didn't work last time, and last time we had a de-roboticizer. So now when Sonic gets captured and roboticized anyway, it's like, oh, you know, they're going to think that he's going against their orders.
I I love
Drama.
that. Yeah.
Melodrama.
That is cool, and of course I appreciate all callbacks. Another thing that Robotnik brings up and becomes very apparent as he starts to annihilate everything is that, so this was sort of touched on, I remember in Sat AM with like the dragons, but so when you roboticize a creature, it's got some sort of like pseudo-scientific way of like enhancing the natural abilities of the creature or whatever. So if it's already super dangerous, you turn it to a robot, it becomes multiplied.
Right.
So Sonic is a huge menace. And I think that's interesting and sorely underutilized. I can't off the top of my head think of other times where it becomes like really important that that's a thing robotization does. Usually wimps get roboticized.
I do have a bit of a theory about that. And I think it's partially, at least in the case of this, like with Sonic being roboticized, I think it's partially that Robotnik probably has some way of like roboticizing them to his own design. I assume Robotnik probably had this design ready for when he can roboticize Sonic, so that's why that's part of the reason he's such a menace.
That's possible, but I know at least one story later on where a character gets roboticized and Robotnik wants to weaponize them and has to basically surgically alter them after roboticization to make them more dangerous. Or, I don't know if it's surgical or mechanical. We had this conversation last time, but anyway.
I guess it's technically both.
Yeah, but Sonic is roboticized. He looks so fucking cool.
He does look really cool.
I'm so glad that they had Spaziant draw this. Can you imagine if they had to have, like, Monarch or Gallon or Mowini draw this, how not cool it would look? And I don't even mean to talk down to them. It's just he's so far above them. He's so out of their league.
Yeah.
So Sonic attacks Antoine, Sally, and Rotor, who mostly just try to evade him until Bunny shows up and decides it's time to throw the fuck down.
The frame where Bunny just smacks Sonic is so satisfying because, again, alluding back to that other story where Sonic fights everyone, no one stood a chance. And I mean, that talks up Sonic and that's cool or whatever. But I thought it was kind of lame, honestly, that no one stood a chance. So to see Bunny actually hold her own for a while, very nice.
Because if it's going to be anyone, it's going to be her.
Yeah, well, what the other story really did is just, it talks up Sonic and then just kind of makes you view the rest of the Freedom Fighters as useless.
Right.
Yeah, whereas this
it shows... it shows Antoine, Sally, and Rotor, dealing with the situation in their own way, and then it also shows Bunny kicking ass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone sort of does their best and doesn't just go down.
Yeah,
it's
fucking awesome.
It's going to be hard to not post every single page of this comic, to be honest, because of how cool the fight is.
The fight is so cool.
And I also like Robotnik just sitting back in his recliner watching this, having fun.
Oh yeah, no. He's got actually a pretty gross, like, night getup or something on.
He's got a really disgusting onesie.
I was gonna say a burlap potato sack, but yeah, it's like a gross brown onesie.
It looks like a onesie made out of like burlap.
Yeah, which that can't be comfortable.
You know what? Robotnik doesn't seem like the type to really care about comfort that much.
I guess he's a guy who enjoys having nightmares. We learned that a couple episodes ago. So
That's
true. That is true.
But we also, it's like, Bunny gets kind of beat up. She gets electrocuted, and it's like, oh, she's gonna be down with the count. Nope, she pulls out a frigging Mega Buster to counter Megasonic with.
It fits her kind of Mega Man-esque legs that she all of a sudden has.
I mean, she has always kind of had them. They just don't look that good when Spazion's not drawing it.
The different artists tend to draw Bunny's legs in like slightly different ways.
I'll say it's like we're talking about this comic in terms of what we're looking at, and in terms of dialogue, it's like not great. It's still Michael Gallagher is the thing.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really need to be great.
It's all serviceable, inoffensive, up until Bunny says, "The South shall rise again," which
Bunny making Civil War references
and not know where it came from, Mike.
Yeah, Bunny making Civil War references has pushed me the wrong way. Has pushed me the wrong way multiple times. She's made a few of them, and it feels really weird.
Well, it's not just that it's Civil War references, it's that specifically she is
Well,
on the
yeah.
side of the Confederates.
Well, she's made other Confederate references also.
Yeah, no, she calls people Yankees.
Which,
and-
granted, that's not an exclusively Confederate reference. That was that the terminology of Yankee, referring to a Northerner, has existed since before the Civil War, but it's
No,
heavily
British
associated.
people will call you a Yank sometimes.
Right, but that's very heavily associated with Southern Confederates.
Yeah, and here she just, casually drops the phrase that, a bunch of inbred racist hicks wanted to re-enslave black people. I don't fucking know what to think about that. I'm just gonna pretend it didn't happen and move on. Obviously, it doesn't make any sense with the context of the story, so let's just pretend it didn't happen. I'll do some clever editing to just remove the speech bubble, except I won't because Spazion's art is too detailed and I can't erase all the brush in the back.
So while Bunny is making questionable references, Tails is calling upon a special additional helper for this fight. But so Tails just never catches a break. Although I feel like at this point, Sally is just like teasing him because he's like, I'm so glad that you're treating me seriously. And then she's like, oh yeah, don't forget to brush your teeth, by the way. So it's like, I don't know. That's the way it comes off to me.
It's not just don't forget to brush, it's don't forget to wash your hands and to brush your TVs. I've never heard anybody talk like that to anyone, least of all a child. I think a child would get pissed off at you if you said that to them, which Tails does, so.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
It's like I got all this character development, now here's everybody ignoring it.
Yeah, he's got all this character development, and then, still no one treats him with any respect, and it's a little frustrating, because I like Tails.
It's just kind of the way his character is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. He's got a book on his shelf that's called Tails' Tallest Tale. That's the name of actually the story from the In Your Face special. Tails' Tall Tale is the name of the book. But the names are so similar that I'm like, is that a novelization of his adventure at the fan club?
You know what? Tails does strike me as someone who would try to write like his own novelization of his own adventure.
Anyway, Knuckles is here, and Tails launches him into the sky to fight Mechasonic with a springboard.
Yeah.
I love Knuckles being the one who has to take on Mechasonic.
Yeah, no, I do like to have Knuckles here. Finally, it's well, okay. I mean, Hyper and Super was also pretty good, but this even more so because it's not just over the top for no reason. It's over the top because it has to be.
Right.
This is a good reason for the two of them to be fighting.
Yeah, for once, instead of them literally just fighting the moment they see each other.
It's context that helps it.
Yeah. Knuckles is over here doing his job, granted his guardian of Knothole, but he's still being a guardian.
It does highlight in here, you can see one of the few art problems that I have with Spazion, which is that he never draws characters with any teeth in their mouth.
Yeah. Shit, I never noticed that.
I'm sorry, this is, it's gonna stick like that for a while, but it's okay. But unfortunately, Knuckles does not beat Mechasonic. He gets a few good hits in, but he gets knocked down just the same as Bunny. And we end on a cliffhanger that is not followed up on in the next comic book.
Oh.
What a scam.
This pissed Lauren off as a kid the most because he actually owned these books and didn't just check them out from the library. It also pissed me off as a kid when he showed me. But the fact that in the 90s you had to buy the issue and then buy Mecha Madness the special, but then even in the 2000s when they were reprinting these, you had to buy the archives and then buy Sonic Select.
They just had to milk it twice, many years later.
Can you even call it the Sonic Archives when they're only archives of some of Sonic?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I wish they had just sectioned these off, or not even sectioned them on. I wish they had put them all in chronological order in the archives and just made a lot of them. That would have made it take a long time to get to some of the better ones, but it would have been so much more intuitive to read.
Yeah, because this isn't just a problem with this. I miss lots of stories. As I mentioned the mini series I never read. So yeah, it's confusing when they like reference the story and I'm like, wait, huh? I missed something.
Yeah, especially when the Sonic Archives made it relatively further than anything else. You know, they made it all the way through the adventure arc and such. But the Knuckles comics, you know, like those got archives for like a few of the arcs and then stopped. So it's like when you kept reading the Sonic books, it's like, well, what's all this stuff that happened in a comic book that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
But thankfully, none of that is a problem here in 2022, where these books are completely out of print forever. Nobody will ever be able to sell or buy them again, more than likely. Which means that just downloading them from archive.org is like, it doesn't even feel like a disservice.
I have no moral compass anyway.
Alright, well, I'll see you at the trial. But now we are getting into...
The trial is in another issue. We're not there yet.
That's right, we're not yet.
I knew
Devin,
you were going to say that, and I realized that as soon as I said it. Anyway, Sonic and Knuckles, the special, Mecha Madness, has this deliciously edgy cover artwork with flames everywhere. Flames of Robotnik. The fire is shaped like his head.
I love that. That is awesome.
The origins of edgy Sonic.
A little bit.
We got a little sneak peek at Robo Knuckles, which is pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
He looks awesome.
I also love the title page with the distressed Sonic forming the shadow of Mecha Sonic.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
And yeah, this is one of the only cases that I remember where the actual story in the issue is the same as the title of the issue. It is Mecha Madness, you know, still Gallagher and Spaziant. Out of options for stopping the roboticized Sonic, the Freedom Fighters pull their last resort, a restored roboticizer of their own. Under his own control, Knuckles roboticizes himself to bring Sonic to justice.
Yeah.
So they have really mined that initial Bunny story for parts, because they apparently recovered the roboticizer from that story along with the shrink ray for those other stories.
Yeah, it's referenced a surprising number of times now that you mention it. But I do appreciate for what it leads to. It's funny that the Freedom Fighters are all like, oh no, this is very serious, Knuckles. You must consider what you're getting into. And he's like, nah, turn me to robot right now.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, that's pretty in character for Knuckles. Just, you know, I'm just throw myself at the situation and see what happens.
No, yeah,
exactly. There's like that little moment where Rotor's like, wouldn't doing this make us the same as Robotnik? And Sally's just like, who cares? But it's like, no, because the important thing about roboticization is that you're robbing people of their free will. And it's I guess that's kind of what Sally's planning, but to have Knuckles just wake up and be like, alright, get me in there, motherfucker!
Well, yeah, here's the thing, but they're not robbing Knuckles of his free will in this situation. He's still perfectly in control.
Well, he's delirious before, so I guess that's what it is. You know, they would be putting him in there without his explicit consent.
He wakes up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like, after Sally literally kicks him in the ass.
I think it's the principle of the matter and the fact that Robotnik seems to always find a way to make a robot created by his own devices to work for him, at least temporarily. Like, you know, it happens with Chuck, and of course it happened with Sally. So it's like, there are risks associated with it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just like Robotnik stands for, like, you know, technology, ruthless, no regard for the environment. Who knows what robotization takes? You know, so it's like, this isn't our technology. These aren't our ways, sort of a thing. That's kind of what Rotor's getting at.
The question is, does roboticization take less energy than mining Bitcoin?
Probably.
Okay.
I'll say what is weird is that, right before Knuckles gets in the machine, when he wakes up, he and Sally have this, like, little character moment where they're like, oh, hey, how you doing? It's been a while. But it's like, she says it's been a long time, which suggests to me that, like, this is supposed to be their first time seeing each other since childhood, even though it's not.
Yeah, they met just a few issues ago, or however long ago.
Yeah, they were in the Chaotic Special and the Supersonic vs. Hyper Knuckles.
Did they outright meet in Supersonic vs. Hyper Knuckles? I don't remember.
She breaks up the fight between him and Sonic before sending them into the Special Zone.
So there is something there that I'm not sure of, because I'm not sure if I'm supposed to read into it or if I'll just explain it later. But skipping to the end of this, Sally's like, wait, Knuckles, I had something planned. So, like, there's something there. I don't know. She called him over, obviously, to help, but then she wanted to, like, I don't know, hang out or something. catch up or whatever.
I always got the impression that they were planning on like trying to ship Sally and Knuckles and doing a love triangle with Sonic or whatever, but that never actually happens. That's not a plot line in this comic.
It does seem like they've given up on Sally or Antoine with Sally.
Oh no, that's gonna rear its head back later in an ugly way. But
all right, good. That's great.
Anyway, let's focus on the good part of this issue, which is Mecha Sonic continuing to be a bastard and Mecha Knuckles showing up to fight him.
Yeah.
Right before Knuckles attacks Sonic, I like that there's like a bit where Sonic like hesitates on Robotnik's orders, and then Robotnik's like, "Oh, well, you're hesitating? Whatever. Just give me the coordinates of Knothole. I've got a stockpile of nuclear bombs I'm trying to use."
Yeah, so we're just gonna drop nukes into this situation now.
Oh, are you sure they're not bug bombs like that one comic?
Right.
Yeah, no.
Well, thankfully Knuckles manages to interrupt, and I'm just now realizing they did a Robot Knuckles before Sega ever did, because this came out before Sonic R.
Oh. Huh. Also, I like that Knuckles basically came into the fight the exact same way he did before he was roboticized, with a nice uppercut right to the face.
It's his style.
It is his style.
And the flatter shading, because it's not the archives coloring, also makes it easier to parse to read, in my opinion. They really have like a Dragon Ball Z beam struggle where Sonic shoots him with his arm cannons and Knuckles blocks it. It's such a great drawing.
Oh, it's so good.
Very entertaining fight.
It's hard to find to write notes on or to say things about, though, because it's just like, yes, it is indeed a really cool looking battle.
I think that's been the problem with a lot of the really good stuff. It's like, well, there's not a whole lot to say other than just it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, if there were more like personal character stakes, maybe, but it's like it's not like I trust the writers to do those here.
Well, so the only stake is just that Knothole is going to get fucking destroyed, either by nuke
I mean, that's
or by that's the monster of the week.
Sonic and Knuckles, at the end of their fight, they fly into Robotropolis, and they blow up like a huge chunk of it. That's not how nukes work. It only seems to blow up half of a city. They can see the blast, which means they should definitely already be dead. But more than that, Robotnik survives without even... It doesn't even... I guess he was kind of in a bunker, but he immediately gets out, and it's like, okay, well, the radiation should get him then.
I feel like Robotnik just thrives on radiation.
No, I agree with Bruce on that point.
Okay, that's fair. Cartoonish.
Remember, we've already had a nuclear explosion that wasn't nearly as devastating as it was supposed to be. So,
yeah, this one was at least...
Yeah, remember with Rockbot?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that.
This one at least looks devastating for the part of Robotropolis it destroyed.
Yo, Gallagher wrote the Tails story too, so he just doesn't know how nukes work.
I mean, maybe it was they were a bunch of tactical nukes. They're really small yield.
Well, in any case, they get out of there, and Robotnik picks up Mecha Sonic, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta rebuild him." But Knuckles is still kicking, and he uppercuts Robotnik this time. He just loves the uppercuts, I think.
No, he headbutts him because they missed the required headbutt in their fight.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I looked at it and thought it was an uppercut, but now I can see he literally says our fight scene didn't have the required headbutt. That's very funny.
Also, Devin, I can see why you thought it was an uppercut. The scene before it, you can see Knuckles' fist right next to Robotnik's face.
Yeah. But they get Sonic out of there, and I really am not... I'm not totally happy with this conclusion, because the conclusion is that Sonic's billionth ring, that amazing plot point, is able to work with Nicole a little bit to de-roboticize him in a way that apparently can never be used again, or maybe only works on Sonic, I guess.
Well, I assume it's special to Sonic.
Sonic exclusive. They kind of imply that that he wouldn't be able to be roboticized again, or at least his free will wouldn't be taken over.
Right.
Yeah. And Knuckles, on the other hand, they make this completely new idea that if you've been roboticized, then the same roboticizer that roboticized you can de-roboticize you.
That implies that the roboticizer already has a de-roboticizer function, but they've been struggling so much to come up with a de-roboticizer that feels lame.
Also, this is the roboticizer that Bunny was trapped in, so shouldn't they be able to de-roboticize her?
Yes, I mentioned I would come back to Bunny's thing, and there you go. Like, she's literally traumatized by the fact that she's part robot. Just fix it.
So I think it might be an Uncle Chuck situation where while she's traumatized, she still thinks she might be more useful to them as a robot, at least for the time being.
Well, we talked about that back in Sat AM, and it's like, yes, but we also concluded that it's like, no, I think she would go for it if she could.
Yeah, she probably would, but
and they certainly don't bring it up like they thought of it, so I don't know.
Oh.
Chuck outright says that. Bunny there's never a chance for her to answer it directly. She kind of skirts around the issue with the de-roboticizer they capture in the Sally story. She's like, nah, it's better to use it for a different plan. But that's different than outright saying, I would rather stay a robot than get out. I have to imagine the writers just didn't realize that thing they had planted by making up that thing for Knuckles. But I do kind of believe that, well, because they say as much, that the roboticizer is old and works differently, because Knuckles makes a joke about you don't make them like you used to, Robotnik. So it does make sense to me that you can't just de-roboticize ones created with newer roboticizers because the process has probably been changed.
Yeah.
I suppose. I mean, it's all... I know why they did this. It's because you can't keep them roboticized, but you don't want to make it just, anybody can get roboticized or de-roboticized forever, which you were already saying they were making de-roboticization cheap, so it's like, that's already a problem.
Oh, no, yeah, it is. Between Knuckles and Sonic getting restored without too much trouble, and like I said 2 issues ago, where they just de-roboticized a whole bunch. Yeah. When you do it too many times, it's like, okay, well, now they'll just bend over backwards to do it if need be. But whatever.
Yeah.
If that's what it took to get, robot versions of 2 of the greatest characters fighting, I'll take it.
I'll say though, what it didn't take was this other ending part where Sonic's like, yeah, I got captured, and nobody believes him, and he's going to be put in jail, and they're going to have a court session to figure out how to punish him for disobeying them. It's like, what are you guys doing?
I mean, to be fair, they have no way... Sonic has no way of proving that he was captured, and they have no way of proving it either, or knowing that he's not lying.
He's their friend. He's known them for, like, 10 years.
Yeah, yes, I get that, but...
Sonic is not shown to be super reliable a lot of the time, so it's not all that implausible.
Yeah, no, I understand why the other freedom fighters are skeptical of whether or not Sonic is lying or not.
I think it's believable enough. Plus, once we actually get into that story, Sally is basically like, you gotta follow the rules, sort of a thing.
Right.
Like, prove yourself. Like, it's not that
unless
I don't
you can
like you or
actually
whatever.
prove this. There needs to be consequences.
Right.
I don't know. I sort of get it, I suppose. But we'll cross that bridge when we burn it. The second story in this issue is weird. It is Don't Let the Island Hit You on the Way Down, starring the Chaotix, and written by Kent Taylor again, and drawn by Mirka Ducazio, or Harvo is just what they usually call him. The Chaotix, without Knuckles, find themselves under attack by new villain group The Fearsome Foursome, and their boss, the immortal chaos demigod, Mammoth Mogul.
Mammoth Mogul? He's one of my favorite weird characters from the comics. I will say, though, did Kent Taylor really look at Enerjack and be like, wow, that's really cool, I want my own character just like that, and then make Mogul? Because their backstories are kind of similar.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible. He was a guy during the cavemen period of the re-evolution of Mobian species, and he got chaos powers and rose above all his others, and you can see Moby the caveman from an episode or 2 ago in the back from one of those panels.
Yeah.
Because they basically exiled him. But now he dresses like Kingpin and has a Chaos Emerald on his pimp cane, and he commands 4 guys. That's all I can really
Why?
say about them. They are a hawk guy, a lynx guy, a gorilla guy, and a frog guy.
Yeah, I don't really care about them, but more about Mogul. Yeah, he dresses so nice. It's great, and I love the bit of characterization. I don't know if this was intentional, as I think it's just the way they wrote the story. But he shows up, and then instantly, without being prompted at all, is like, hello, my adversaries. Let me explain my entire life story. And just goes right into it, monologues the whole thing. That's awesome. That's hilarious.
That's a total anime trope.
Little bit, which is weird because if I read this just as a story, I would say that neither Scott Fulop nor Harvey Mercadocasio have seen any anime.
I mean, probably not, but they just happen to use an anime
a
trope.
fun last name to say. Anyway, as for the actual story, it's really just we fight the 4 guys and then we win and then they leave. Or actually, we don't win. We sort of win.
We fight the 4 guys that kind of beat our ass, and then Mogul shows up.
No,
Yeah.
Not a whole lot happens. Mogul's just like, I'm gonna take over everything right now. Oh wait, maybe it was being a little overeager.
Yeah, this was
I'll
really
come back later.
Clearly a way to introduce Mogul.
Which I don't know. It's weird. It'll have more later. I don't know if it'll be better. It'll have more though.
This last frame, I don't think our artist here knows how Vector's mouth works.
It is hard to draw Crocomouth, but yeah, he's his teeth
He's
are just
talking
like
with
on the
his
bottom of
mouth
his
closed.
nose.
My man's talking with his mouth closed. Or he's like whispering out of the side of his mouth. It's weird.
Yeah, but at least we had a new villain introduced, as compared to... Well, you know what? I guess this last story sort of introduced a new villain, but this last story is also completely stupid. It's the 40 Fathoms Freedom Fighters in Eel of Fortune. Gee, I wonder who's gonna be writing and drawing this. Of course, it's Michael Gallagher and Dave Monach. The 40 Fathoms Freedom Fighters battle against the dastardly mobster Eel Capone. And I didn't write anything else because that's all this thing deserves. It is fish puns. It is fucking... There's a little bit of Octobot.
I want to find every single person that demanded the 40 Fathoms Freedom Fighters come back, and I want to slap them.
Yes, thank you for pointing out. The title page says, because you demanded it. Like,
I really doubt
really?
anyone demanded it.
Well, you say you want to slap every person who wanted this. Then you have 2 people to slap. Their names are Mike Gallagher and Dave Monach.
I will
100%.
fucking do it. Yeah, like, goddamn, this is total whiplash after Mecha Madness.
You know, it's funny because we talked about how we thought Supersonic vs. Hyper Knuckles was the best special because it had a great lead story, and then its backup stories were also at least meaningful, even if Penders' art was still weird in the bit with Locke. And this one is like the polar opposite, where it's got an amazing lead story, purely because of Spazion's artwork. And then both the backup stories are, like, kind of phoned in. Like, the Mogul one is at least important, but this one is just bottom of the barrel. We had an inventory story we needed to print.
Yeah, so I can appreciate the Mogul story, because it's setting up who I assume is going... If something happens to Robotnik, which I have heard tales of something happening to Robotnik in the not-too-distant future. I'm assuming Mogul is going to be our next big bad. But this story, there's nothing happening. It's like an episode of Seinfeld.
So, I had a realization, which is that if I hadn't read the Tales miniseries, I probably wouldn't recognize this as a Sonic comic.
It doesn't look like a Sonic comic. This could be literally any other children's comic from, like, the mid to late 90s.
And I wanna take umbrage with just one thing. You said it's like an episode of Seinfeld because there's nothing happening, but Seinfeld is funny. That's the joke in Seinfeld, is that it's about completely petty problems.
Now I'm imagining a Sonic comic written by Larry David. You're right, though. The comparison to Seinfeld isn't even apt, because Seinfeld's at least entertaining. This could literally be removed from the fucking special, and nothing of value would be lost.
Which is why it's not printed in Sonic Select Book 2, I imagine.
Right.
So, weird, great lead story, okay second story, dumb, useless third story. I don't even know if we can rank that with the other specials. Does Mecha Madness put it above Hypersonic Super Knuckles? on
would
its
say
own.
if we're going off of all the stories, I would still put Mecha Madness on the same level as Hyper Knuckles versus Supersonic.
Yeah, I guess if you give it like an average score sort of a thing, that makes sense.
I think they're both excellent in their own ways, because for this one basically just because of Mecha Madness and because Mogul seems interesting.
We can call it a tie.
Yeah, I'd say right now these two specials are like on equal level.
All right. Well, in the modern era, we don't have to worry about waiting a month to buy another comic book, because our final issue for today is Sonic the Hedgehog number 40, where we can follow up on all that stuff from Mecha Madness.
And unfortunately, the art is not done by Spazion.
In the recap, it is. I don't know if
yes, the recap is, but
that's not original art, though, is it? It's probably
no, it
taken
isn't
from the previous one.
It's from 39 in Mecha Madness.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, yeah, the story for this one is Court Martial, written by Gallagher and drawn by Monarch. The 40 Fathoms Freedom Fight. No, I'm just kidding. When Antoine presses charges on Sonic for attacking the village's Mecha Sonic, Sonic has to hunt down Knack to prove he didn't seek out Robotnik himself and clear his name.
Of course, it's fucking Antoine who's pushing for charges.
Yeah, what a jerk.
He was starting to like actually be an enjoyable character, and now it's like he's got to work to get that trust back.
Well, it's weird because on the one hand, Sonic has been an asshole to Antoine for the entire series up to this point. On the other hand, this reads to me like Antoine being petty, and, you know, I don't remember if there's any lines about it secretly being a Sally thing. I don't think there's any, but it's the kind of thing where they would put those there.
It does just seem like Antoine is just angry with Sonic because Sonic's a fucking butthead.
Yeah, I mean, as an Antoine fan, I can't defend this too much, but I do think it is entertaining, at least, to watch when Antoine puts down the case, because he just goes full bore with his accusations. It's pretty hilarious, but then he gets absolutely annihilated when Sonic gets his turn.
Yeah, Sonic gets his, can we use Knack as evidence, or does he count as a real person?
It's a comic book. None of them are real. No, I'm sorry.
They're all ones and zeros.
Yeah. I think the thing that I like most about this issue is the presence of Amy Rose, who has not been here since Sonic CD, as far as I remember.
Yeah, she reappears after 15 issues.
Yeah, and she's
for various stuff.
She's protesting Sonic's imprisonment and acts as witness in his trial. And no, I like Amy here. She's cute. Her crush on Sonic is not like overbearing. I like her.
No, so that's one thing. I think the writers of the comics at least have done decently well the 2 times she's shown up now. Is that her crush comes off as more like a kid having a crush on their teacher than you know, Amy in the games, who was like, fuck me right now, Sonic.
Oh boy. Yeah, no, she's not, like, you know, the most unique, but she's handled perfectly satisfactorily.
Yeah, it's cool because, I mean, technically, Amy was only in the CD adaptation because CD adaptation. So this kind of establishes that she's actually a character they're going to use in the story. And yeah, I do like her inclusion. There's a really funny bit where she's talking with Sally, and she's trying to like plead Sonic's case when he's in jail, and Sonic like heckles her and has this hilarious look on his face as he's watching the two of them talk. And then when Sally's like, "I'm sorry, you can't. We have to go through due process," and he's like, "Queen takes pawn, checkmate." I like that.
Yeah, and the trial itself is weird. Sally dons a crown and like a robe, and it is literal kangaroo court because the guys from Sonic Spinball, the kangaroo dudes, are here.
Yeah, that was weird also because I kind of forgot they existed.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bruce. That means you're gonna have to give up your license as a Sonic fan, because there's an editor's note that says only true blue Sonic fans remember Hip and Hop from issue number 6.
That's fine. I'm fine with not being a true blue Sonic fan if I can still call myself a casual Sonic fan.
Anyway, Sonic gets ruled as guilty, but then he's just like, no, I refuse. And he like grinds up his handcuffs and says, let me go prove myself innocent. And they let him. But what that tells me is that the fact that he was convicted at all, despite presenting his evidence pretty well, is that like Mobius already had like an innately corrupt justice system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this tells me that if they beat Robotnik, Sonic's gonna have to keep fighting a different society.
Oh, dear.
Oh, man. Yeah, gonna have to keep the freedom fighting group going, because Sally's gonna turn into a dictator.
Oh, no.
You're more right than you think. It's not Sally, though.
You can't say shit like that, Devin.
I didn't think about that, but he's right.
It's alright. It's alright.
I guess having my interest peaked is a good thing.
See, I can just make vague references to things. It could be anything.
Yeah, you could also just be making up complete bullshit and gaslighting me.
Did you know there's a town later on that's named Furville?
God damn it. I can't deny that because it sounds like it's legit.
It could be. It also might not be. Anyway, so Sonic's quest, of course, is to go out and find Knack and bring him back to prove his innocence. And he gets to a bar, sort of a weird, like, he calls it the Robo-Hobo Jungle, which is like, okay. But it's a place of disused badniks and a bar where Knack is hanging out.
Yeah, with all the new combots, the classic badniks that actually look like Robotnik creations apparently are just thrown away, which is very sad. I don't think that sticks forever, though, so...
Well, I mean, we still occasionally see Crabmeat, but that's more as Robotnik's sidekick.
That's true. Crabmeat was there just to get demolished by Mecha Sonic.
I think combots are mostly a DeCesare thing. I don't think other writers tend to use them too much.
I mean, I guess the combots work, like... They sort of work in a way of, like, when Robotnik wants to be more serious.
Right.
But they still come off as, like, lazy, less interesting SWAT bots. Also, I don't like the idea of the Caterkiller, while being only a head, is still fully conscious.
So, yes, this is a classic, like, the heroes are not treating these obviously sentient creations humanely at all. He's like, oh, I'm going to take your head and I'm going to drag it against the ground at top speed if you don't tell me where to find Knack. Yikes.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up, Sonic. I mean, I guess Sonic, he's getting desperate because he wants to prove himself guilty.
No, yeah, he is in a hurry, but
it does still come off as very kind of out of character for Sonic.
Angie boy.
That said, we do move on to where Knack is, and like I said, this story made me realize, Knack is actually pretty fun. There's this great moment where Sonic is like, all right, Knack, I got you. And he's like, I have my gloves in the air. Of course, they're on sticks. My hands are down here holding my gas gun. And he ambushes Sonic. It's great.
Yeah. His scooter isn't fast enough, though, because Sonic can catch him. I think this thing... I seem to remember that its name is, like, the Marvelous Queen or something is the name of his scooter. But yeah, Sonic catches up with him and beats the crap out of him, basically.
Yep.
And
not wasting any time, because he has no time to waste. But yeah, Knack gets subdued pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, justice is served, Sally apologizes, dumb ship teasing, and we end on a gag about Antoine being a bad band conductor.
Why is there just a regular-ass elephant here?
Oh my gosh, I did not notice that.
Is this a regular Mobian? Because if that's the case, why doesn't he look like Mammoth Mogul?
He couldn't look as cool as Mammoth Mogul.
I mean, fair. Mammoth Mogul, as Devin pointed out, looks like Kingpin. That automatically makes him look cool.
Anywho, that's all the issues for today, and I thought that some of them were pretty good. I thought this last one was kind of needless. I feel like Sonic they didn't need to do it this way if they didn't want to. But overall, I had a really good time.
The idea of doing a trial is kind of a fun idea.
I suppose. At least it's jokey instead of, like, trying to play it off too serious.
It comes off as one of the weirder Ace Attorney trials.
Yeah, it's very much a silly issue, sort of after a more serious arc. Maybe I like it because it's still integrated in with it, but it doesn't bother me.
I suppose it was worth it to still be able to do Mecha Madness. That's what this episode is that this is the episode where the comics were worth it.
This is the Mecha Madness episode. There's no other part to this episode you need to listen to. So if you listen to all of it, you made a mistake.
Yes, you have wasted your time and are going to die. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll email you Anthrax.
So next time on Deep Dive Zone, we are not actually slowing down our momentum at all. We went from a big arc this episode to a big arc next episode, because next episode we have Sonic Quest, the Death Egg Saga. And cool. I think that'll be fun, maybe? I hope so. I hope it's not terrible.
It was... I think it's pretty decent.
Alright, well, you're all gonna find out next time. I hope you guys...
Dragon Ball Z.
I hope everybody watching this enjoyed. If you'd like to contact us, you can find us at deepdivezonepod@gmail.com or at deepdivezone on Twitter. We're still there for now. Subscribe, share if you enjoyed, comment actually if you enjoyed. That was what I was supposed to say. God, this intro is a train wreck.
It's an outro, Devin.
Did I say intro?
You said intro.
Holy crap. Oh, I'm doing such a bad job. Okay, I hope everybody watching this enjoyed, and we will see you next Sunday. I think I'm saying the right day of the week. Sunday.
You are.
Have a great night. We'll see you next week.